What is the worst human invention ever made? That plastic childproof packaging that no one knows how to open, so we cut it with scissors and still somehow manage to cut ourselves from it. Childproof is never arthritis friendly. I need pliers to get the gummies out of the package. Childproof medicine bottles have resulted in a lot of senior citizens putting their pills in unmarked containers that they can open and accidentally taking the wrong pills. Landmines. Yeah, they don't just disappear once a war is over. They'll stay around to kill some kids playing awful things. There's a huge part of France that's still an absolute no man's land because of mines. Edit, my mistake, it's general unexploded ordnance and chemical contamination. As a vet that had to walk through areas the enemy had left mines behind in, I agree. Kids would play in areas mines were buried. They got used to spotting them. No child should ever have to get used to spotting a landmine. Imagine being a kid, playing with your friends in a field, and you suddenly get blown up because of a war that happened 100 years ago and had fuck all to do with you. Reminds me of this old PSA. A couple friends and I were driving down a one-lane road in California once in a ton of traffic. This is related, I promise, bear with me. The cars were crawling. I had some work gloves and bags and told the friend sitting next to me that we should get out and pick up trash on the side of the road as we waited. The traffic was really that bad. She said no very emphatically. A few minutes later she changed her mind and we got out and collected trash for a half-mile or so. When we got back into the car she told me that where she grew up in Iraq there were still landmines on the side of the road, and it took her a moment to realize that they wouldn't have those in California, so it was safe to pick up trash. Yeah. Trash freaks me out. They would bury their shit and cover it with trash to try and confuse the SAR from detecting disturbances to the soil density and the obvious visual indicators. Other one for me is sagging cars full of garbage. Or cars with flat tires. I will walk on the other side of the street if I see that shit. Leaded gasoline? Lots of aircraft still use leaded gasoline today. The higher octane allows for higher compression and helps prevent knock. Definitely something you don't want happening 10,000 feet up. Yep, most regular piston-driven aircraft do, which today is mostly smaller aircraft. Jets like airliners and turboprop aircraft use jet fuel, which is essentially high-quality kerosene and is unleaded. Fun fact, Thomas Midgley, the inventor of leaded gasoline, also invented the first CFCs, which later caused the depletion of the ozone layer. There is a great episode on the Cautionary Tales podcast about this man, the inventor who almost ended the world. Someone once said that Midgley is arguably the single most destructive organism to ever exist on Earth in terms of destruction caused to the environment. His contribution of leaded gas has been linked to rise in birth of people with psychological disorders, which has been linked to rising crime rates. The death toll is more than we think it is. In later life he developed MS, I think, and invented a machine to get himself out of bed as he lost mobility. It went wrong and he ended up strangled in it. Probably saved the world from his next idea. I think it was developed from lead poisoning. Literally everything the man made killed people. And the people who didn't die became aggressive and idiotic, and would go on to kill even more people. Lobotomy. Worst part is the guy even got a Nobel Prize. Being Portuguese and learning Portugal has a medicine Nobel Prize, oh yes. Knowing what it is about, oh no. I grew up next to his house in Ivanka. Had no idea he invented the lobotomy. Napalm. We shoot the sick, the young, the lame, we do our best to maim, because the kills all count the same. Napalm sticks to kids. Styrofoam is pretty abominable in my book, especially for things like takeout food that's destined for the trash within minutes of use. There are places that allow for reusable dishes. I order SMTH, generate a token in their app, the restaurant will deliver the food in the reusable dish. I have 2 weeks to return the dish to a participating restaurant. I've used it 8 times now, works like a charm. That's cool. I have never encountered a place locally that does this, unfortunately, but I do wish more places had this option. I would use it. Single-use plastic. Particles have been found in every corner of the earth and ocean, as well as in human and animal embryos. Most of these break down into toxic compounds and will have long-term physical and chemical impacts. Literally came here to say this. K-cups. Chemical warfare. While nukes are horrible beyond imagination, humanity learned to avoid them as a way to ensure their own survival. It's wise, but egoistical nonetheless. Chemical weapons, on the other hand, traumatized the fuck out of the survivors and the ones who called the attacks and got to see the aftermath. They were so horrible that many soldiers deserted after using it, and many went mad. I wish never having to see the skin melting off in the face of a barely alive toddler. Throughout the last century, we successfully banned almost all of those: the 1925 Geneva Protocol, the 1980 Chemical Weapons Convention, among others. But I'm afraid when the next generation start to forget the horrors of chemical warfare, it will resurface in the likes of what's happening with fascism. Serious answer: chemical toxins that have caused severe health problems. Personal answer: HP printers. Fucking piece of shit. PC load letter? What the fuck does that mean? I know it's from Office Space, but it actually has a meaning. PC meant paper cassette, which basically means the paper tray, and was one of many two-letter error codes because old printers had small screens that couldn't display long error messages. Load letter refers to letter size paper, standard size in the US, 8.5 by 11 inch. Dude FR, it's 2022, how have we not mastered printers? I work at a dental lab and I can 3D print a mouth via Bluetooth, but if I want to print an invoice I have to plug it in and maybe it'll do its job. The best part is their bullshit excuse for why ink is so expensive is the money goes to printer R&D. Yet printers still fucking suck. Seriously, best thing I ever did was splurge for a decent quality color laser years ago, still on the same toner cartridges it came with. I had a piece of shit HP LaserJet I bought in a bind and it was already streaking out of the box. Also fuck not including a printer cable. For-profit prisons. Which leads to state prosecutors who are beholden to them. Which leads to increased probability of being charged with a crime you didn't commit, under the plan that you're too poor to defend yourself and will plead out. They can't make a profit without prosecutors feeding them an ever-increasing supply of prisoners, plus parolees and probationers in offender-funded programs. It's a recipe for the corruption of our justice system. Private prisons are arguably foreign enemy assets. What if we paid for results rather than for occupancy? Churn out a bunch of reformed, educated, productivite members of society? Lots of profit. Churn out a bunch of folks with few prospects who end up back in jail or homeless? No profit. Seems like we got exactly what we incentivized with the payment structure. Glitter. Such a horrible substance. As a teacher, I totally agree. It gets everywhere and for the rest of the day you look like you just left a strip club. Unskippable ads. Do you want better? Websites that you can't view without turning off adblock. Do you want better? You go into a website. It loads up. You see the content for 1 second, then a full screen ad pops up with a tiny X on the bottom that is hard to see and press. You press it and scroll down, a pop-up that you have to accept cookies. You click OK. You scroll a few seconds, then a subscribe to newsletter. Good times. Algorithmic social media. MySpace was fine, no algorithm, no extremes. FB, Twitter, etc. The algorithm to show you more of what you like leads people into an echo chamber and causes polarization of people's views, helping dehumanize each other. Update. Whoa, I posted this before going to bed. I did not expect this much love. Thanks y'all. Oh, how I miss MySpace. MySpace Tom needs to be the next Twitter CEO.